pact once broken, forged anew. Warlocks Waffles.
Did you want waffles?
That we know knows who this is.
We are live.
Oh, well then. Everybody remembers Sway from 106 in Park, right? Am I crazy on this one? No? All right, everybody. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles, the official TTRPG morning show of NASCAR. Hunter, how was your weekend? I'm just gonna say all the things that I thought about this morning. Screw it. Let's go.
Disclaimer: we have no affiliation in NASCAR.
Yet, comma, semicolon, whatever the punctuation is. Yet. Good morning, everybody.
Punctuation, a semicolon, whatever. Yeah.
I have to think
So-
the brain.
Dude, you don't
Okay.
understand how. You can't just lay that on me because I don't know what the hell that. I was really confused for a second. I'm
'Cause
bringing
you heard
big.
your own voice.
Yeah. Just I'm bringing big. I don't need glasses to see energy today. So, yeah.
Uh-huh.
How was your weekend, man?
It was good. Saturday, Grace and I just kind of hung out. And we went to see Shrek the Musical on Saturday night.
Oh,
And I don't want to talk about it because I love that musical and it
okay.
wasn't great.
Oh,
Nope. I don't want to like rag on them. I think that they were set up for failure. I have strong feelings though. Anyway, and then
okay.
yesterday I played some Fallout. And
Okay.
then in the morning, well, Grace was gone. And then I went to grocery shop, did some errands. It was nice getting out of the house. Went to my favorite grocery store, Grocery Outlet Bargain Market.
I was gonna have you ask. I was asking you to say it. Yeah.
Yep. Went there and they had like a whole shelf of weird energy drinks that I've never heard of. And they were all like 20 cents. So I bought like 6 or 7 different brands of energy drinks and just bought like one of each of them in a flavor that I knew I would enjoy. And opened the first one, and it is not good. I only paid like 20 cents for this cup, and I think I overpaid. Junie was on in the call already with me when I took my first sip of it. I opened it up and took my first sip, and my face contorted. I was like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that were wrong.
I'm not
It
gonna
was-
stop drinking it because like it is caffeine, but like
20 whole cents. If you don't know
Yeah.
anything about Hunter, you know if he pays more than a cent about it, he's ingesting it.
oh man.
What's going on here? I don't have glasses. Well, now I don't know what that said. So
Oh,
anyway, I
They
know.
were
I
they
yeah.
were they were offering to sell us followers and views and stuff. Love that.
You're a fool. Why did you
I know I
take
should have
that out?
taken him up on it.
You're such a
Um,
damn it.
Junie's like,
This
we
is
just broke our 400 followers. We need 100 more to hit 500.
let's ride
Probably
this
could have gotten
wave,
that
you
all in one hit.
bastard.
Junie, how was your weekend? We got some weird energy this morning.
You know what? This is what happens when I don't see the world. I just literally, um, I just go, you know what? If I'm gonna bump into it, I'm gonna pretend I did it on purpose. That's the energy I'm bringing without my glasses. I'm just like, I bumped my knee. I meant to fuck that shit up with my knee. That's what that is right now.
I didn't
So-
I didn't accidentally hit my pinky toe on that coffee table. I was kicking the
Mhm.
coffee table.
Mhm. 'Cause
Um
I'm about that life.
Rosie was like, please don't put things in your body that don't taste good, maybe.
Should have told me
But
that
but
decades ago.
Rosie, it has caffeine, and I want the caffeine, and I'm not going to be able to get that caffeine into my body without drinking it. So
And all the other options are just they would get us banned from Twitch. So, I mean, we can try them, but it's going to be on our OnlyFans. Nope, Patreon. That's the one.
there's a
Uh,
disclaimer at
what
the
you're
bottom of this
really
can.
diving into this label, yeah?
I picked it up to see how much caffeine was in it.
It doesn't have caffeine. It's caffeine free, isn't it? You're gonna be so pissed.
No, it's 160 milligrams.
Look,
The
I saw Rosie's comment come up just as I said the thing about caffeine not being in it, and my brain was just like, she was like, Judy, don't you dare say that thing doesn't have caffeine.
no, there's a disclaimer at the bottom of it, which I'm sure is in like on a lot of things. But it says this statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended for to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Which is an interesting thing to put on a drink.
Ooh, we should put that at the end of a lot of our stuff too. Like,
This,
you know what I mean? Because it's true. It hasn't
this
hasn't
episode has
been
not
evaluated
been
by the Food and Drug
valued.
Administration. Like, it's accurate. That's a factual statement. It hasn't been.
Welcome
That's just-
welcome to Warlocks and Waffles, an FDA denier podcast.
Well, hold on. Just hasn't been reviewed or approved. Doesn't mean we're like fuck the FDA. That's a clip.
just
All the hot takes this morning. All the hot takes this morning.
The next sticker I make is gonna be our logo, and it's just gonna say Warlocks and Waffles. Fuck the FDA.
Oh god, it's just pretty much right. The first 10-15 minutes, let's do all the hot takes. Let's get it out now. Let's wiggle them out. It's just like ranch over blue cheese.
That is a hot take, though. I'll give you like made from scratch ranch over blue cheese, but like blue cheese on the whole is better.
I found out I'm very interchangeable with like when I used to drink soda, I was really like, I might have a preference if there's more than one cola, but cola was cola to me, right?
Mhm.
Like as a blanket. And
Sure.
ranch and blue cheese, I was like, if I had a wing, I would dip in either one and I'd be fine, right? I wasn't like, I was superior. I found out when I had a salad and had a blue cheese packet of dressing, I apparently have a blue cheese threshold. And once it went from just dunking a little bit of a wing in there to coating a thing, I was like, do I hate blue cheese? Because I've never ingested that much.
Yeah.
So then I went to like a kind of like almost like affirm I hate blue cheese, or just like I could never do more than that again.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I don't think I've ever felt that with ranch. I've ever felt a visceral reaction with ranch, and I've had that on sandwiches.
I love blue cheese.
But
anyway, you had a good weekend overall, though.
yeah, some fun ups and downs as far as like you ever be a bad adult and have like a medicine you're supposed to take, or just you have been, and you don't
yeah.
refill it, and then you go through that whole, don't do this. Junie is not condoning this at all. Where it's just like you go through that. Do I even need it anymore? Do I even need it anymore? So let's
I
just
mean,
say
I haven't
Junie's,
had it in 3 days. My body is probably like
yeah. So
it probably don't even need it anymore.
just for to sum it up, it's just like I might be more sad, but I'm still focused. So I'm like, do I care? Do I care that I'm more sad feeling or have the potential to feel more sad? I don't know anymore. Maybe it's just, you know what? Maybe just eat it. Just go and eat it.
Take your meds,
But you know,
take your meds.
that's yeah. Don't just cold turkey it. I'm
Junie is
fine, but
Junie is
I'm invincible. I'm invincible. I'm fine. I can I can never die.
I went to pick up my my meds the other day because we were I was out of them. And I go to pick them up, and there is
I just imagine you say I went to because
bored.
I sell them.
No, I went to pick them up, and I get there, and the lady who was working at the pharmacy was the only person working, and looked like she was having such a frustrating day. And she like goes, finds my meds, comes back, and is like, "Hey, I was looking at it. I could not find one of them. But like I found it. Like it just my brain was not like finding it. I'm sorry it took so long. Like I have both of them." And then she's like looking at them, and she goes, "No, I don't." And she's like looking at them, and she's getting more and more confused. And then she's like, "Is there any reason that your meds would be under two different names?" And I was like, none come to mind. Like maybe like I go by my middle name. Maybe the doctor's office submitted one of them under my middle name and one of them under my first name. Like I don't know. And then she like had me give her
This
my
one says Barbara Jenkins. That's not
that's not
no,
you.
right?
The but she had me like give her all of my information, give her my ID so she could verify stuff. She gives me the things the rest of the day. I'm like, it's so weird. Like, why would my doctor's office submit it under two separate names? Like, why would they do that? That's super weird. Like, all of my past meds have been under just my first name. Like, why would they do that? I get home, I go and like pick up my old meds just to verify that like has one of these always been under my middle name? Like no one's ever brought this up before. And so I do all of that, and then I get my new meds, and I go to like put them away, and I look at them, and they're both under my first name. Like there is no other name on these meds.
Was you all right? Well, then was the bag like was they
No.
label on the thing?
There's no other name on any
She
of
must have
them.
been looking at the doctor's name. Maybe she was looking at the doctor's name and just like spacing. I can only think of like
She's
that's
like,
wild.
your name is Vivance? That's a weird name.
That's such a man. They've been giving me generic, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's one of those things where it should be the same, but I'm like, is it?
What my
We're
paranoia
a
kicks
Vivance
in.
fan cast, y'all. So good morning.
My paranoia kicks in, and I'm like, I've heard of people who do like drug trials, and then there's the like placebos. Like, am I secretly on a placebo? Did
Am
they
I a
give
placebo boy?
me?
Am I just
did they
a
give me fake
am I just a
ones?
placebo boy? That's another clip, man. If I like actually like buckled down and did all the clips like we were supposed to, man, we would have such dope fire clips.
Just a T-shirt that
Um,
says "I'm a placebo
I'm a
boy."
placebo boy. I'll make you feel the thing you think you should be feeling. God damn, I'm on fire today. No glasses fucking kicks ass.
Rosie,
I don't
write
see
it
the- I
down.
don't
Write
see
it
the-
down, Rosie.
I don't see the guardrails. I don't see the speed limit signs apparently. So I could just do whatever the fuck I want. No glasses.
Oh man. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles. Contrary to all the
Frank?
rumors.
Frank, take your meds. I'm like an old lady, like looking at the chat, like, is that Frank?
It's Mrs. Rafiki, not original flavor Rafiki.
I apologize. See, no glasses.
Welcome to
I'm
Warlocks
gonna
and
move
Waffles.
the chat closer to my face.
Contrary to popular belief, contrary to the rumors, we are a TTRPG morning show. Welcome to the stream.
Who's
Glad
spreading those fucking
to
rumors that we
have
want
you,
to know?
though.
We do want to know.
Junie, I have been playing just an insane amount of Fallout. It has been my default that I have been playing pretty much every day. At some point I do need to go back and finish Divinity Original Sin 2. But until then I'm playing Fallout. Which has gotten my brain very much into the like apocalypse, end of the world vibes.
Not the thing you want from a video game, by the way. Like, if you want to like relax, unwind, challenge yourself,
I mean,
or
you say
go to
that, but
the end of the
I am
world.
having such a fun time running around in the end of the world over there. So I described it to somebody recently as my favorite blood-filled carnage fest of a cozy game. Because I'm just like running through the wasteland listening to just bop after bop and having a grand old time. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it has made me start thinking about the about playing games in the apocalypse and stuff like that, and I would love to talk about that today.
So first thing, we do have a list. First thing,
Mhm.
get the basics: food, water, and shelter. Like, yes, we know you want to play games, but if there's zombies, a natural disaster, you should
Well,
prioritize your own safety if you're playing a game in the apocalypse.
yes,
So,
yeah,
focus on your loved ones. Who do you have to eat? Like,
yeah,
make sure you eat them in order of like the ones that are least cool to play with because you're not going to miss them. To the ones that are like going to be the coolest to play with because you're gonna be like, oh, they're going to be so fun. I don't want to eat them first. Then I'm gonna have to play with Jeff, and
uh-huh.
Jeff is boring.
Well,
So
and you people have made an argument about like, well, I want gemstone dice, I want like resin dice, like all of this stuff.
you eat a
In
person, you got bone
in
dice.
in the apocalypse, though, metal dice are the choice because you can put them into like a leather dice bag and use it as a weapon if you need to.
Mhm.
If you've got resin dice, you can't do that. This has been a fun tangent. Let's
Tangent.
I
You said we're
I
playing TTRPGs in the apocalypse. I don't know how
TTRPGs
more.
set in the apocalypse.
I don't have my
Not
glasses, man. I just literally don't have my glasses.
Junie
Look at my
needs
face,
Junie
Hunter.
needs his glasses.
Look at my fucking face. You think I have
Um,
glasses on?
hey man,
I can't
I
see.
have real bad object permanence. I'll be honest, I can't remember you ever wearing glasses.
You know what? That hurts my feelings.
Do you normally have glasses
Every single second of my life, I usually have glasses on.
on? Huh.
They are big glasses.
I'm pulling up a picture of
I
you
do
right
see
now.
this one. You pulling pictures up, yeah. I can see this comment by Rosie that Junie needs his glasses to hear correct. Actually, all right.
Oh,
Last
yeah,
tangent. Last
you
hot
do
take
normally wear
tangent.
glasses. What do you
Yes,
know?
every single time. Look at this. But here's something, and I think this is like number. Yeah, I think it's a millennial thing. Do you put subtitles on things? This is Junie's last hot take. Then I swear we will get to the thing. Do you put subtitles on things?
It depends. It depends on the thing.
Okay.
It depends.
That's the perfect answer.
And it depends on if the subtitles are well formatted.
Okay.
I've put subtitles on things before and been like, oh, I hate this, and turned it off. Like if they, uh, some things are very good about like they take up the correct amount of
Yeah.
space on the screen. They're like easily legible, like all of that stuff. Other things have bad subtitles where
Yes.
like if I turn on subtitles and they're yellow, I'm turning them back off.
Two things. One, I know from experience because I've had to do this. There are settings in a lot of the good apps, like Amazon, Netflix, Crunchyroll, things like that, where you can change those subtitles height. if it has a background bar or not. Sometimes they give you it's just the word. Sometimes they put a little black bar behind it. I don't like the black bar. I think that's distracting because then that's like a floating box. But my wife likes having subtitles on. And if for more often than not she does, and it's just like, okay, especially if it's something where it's like whispers or whatever, but it's almost like a default setting in the house now. And it wasn't until I was at my in-laws house, and it was they were watching Planet of the Apes, and something happened, and
Junie, Grace and I
the sister,
literally just watched the Planet of the Apes movies this past weekend.
okay, so
Like
I have feelings but
on
anyway.
Saturday, we just watched Planet of the Apes.
Okay, so something happened. Let's just say a monkey might have passed, and
That's
she was
really
like,
weird. There's not a lot of monkeys in
yeah,
Planet
right.
of the Apes.
So
most of them are apes.
So specifically a monkey. No, but look, she was just like, I can't hear. There's no subtitles, and I was like, oh God, it runs in the family because it's like there's this. They need to like connect the words to like almost reinforce what they've heard to confirm it, right? And it's like some of them it's a little more guttural speech, so I can understand it for some cases, but she said I can't hear it without subtitles, and it's echo to sentiment. And then I've heard this before where it's just kind of like I think I googled it, and I was just like, it's like a thing where people have that to like reinforce what they heard or whatever, but then it becomes the way their brain whatever's. And me, I only come from like, we would have to put like, if something was in Spanish, it would be like we'd put it in, like sometimes there'd be things in subtitles, but because I speak Spanish, I'm double reading it. So I don't know if like, it's like it's when you find a subtitle annoying, you're just like, I know what's being said, but now I'm still reading it. So it's as if you're listening. It can be frustrating. I've gotten better at it, but it's a thing.
My favorite is when they do like somebody is speaking another language and they do like speaking Spanish in these subtitles, and there's no translation. It just says speaking Spanish.
I love that though, because it's always going to give somebody, if it's a real language, it gives me like something whatever. And also I don't do this as much now because I don't want to be problematic and offensive, but I speak Spanish fluent. I am certified bilingual. I sometimes, when I was younger, if I wanted to say something like mime Spanish, essentially, instead of just picking a like phrase, I was like, oh, ¿dónde está la biblioteca? And blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I would just make noises. And then I remember once or twice people going like, don't you actually speak the language though? And I was like, yeah, but I didn't. But I didn't have. But I was like, I don't have the time. Like, I don't have the time to come up with like something to say. I eventually got smart enough to develop the phrase. If somebody's like, oh, you speak Spanish, say something, and I would say, la cosa es cuando gente me pregunta a decir algo en español, yo digo esto, which translates to, the thing is, anytime somebody asks me to say something in Spanish, I say this. And it just proves that I say it can sound like, oh, this guy does, but also like I don't have to think anymore.
Right.
But
you have an NPC phrase.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're a TTRPG morning show, and we're talking about languages in the apocalypse. It's going to be one language, America's language. All right, no, we're back to the hot takes.
The views of Junie do not necessarily these views are not necessarily the views of Warlocks and Waffles.
Let's flash forward to like a sepia like flash forward of after the show, and it's just like a zoom in of Hunter's face. So put on your goddamn glasses.
I don't know about you, Junie. I have ran games in apocalyptic settings. I find it difficult to run a game in an apocalyptic setting and get the tone, the vibe right. especially in like a zombie apocalypse type setting. I
Hmm.
ran a game for some friends of mine back in high school that was a zombie apocalypse. We were all playing like ourselves. And I had pulled up like maps of the area that we lived in, and had like made notes on like things that had happened to the area we lived in this zombie apocalypse, and then we were playing as ourselves trying to like survive this apocalypse. It's hard to write like zombie apocalypse stuff well, and have it be like a fun game that's not just we're avoiding zombies or we're fighting zombies or we're trying to get supplies. um like it gets difficult. um have you ran apocalyptic games before?
I haven't. It's been a lot of fantasy, and then there are elements, but I see the my instant like instinct
Hmm.
in this situation is I have run like I've run multiple campaigns in the same setting, and sometimes
Sure.
they're like at the same time,
Hmm.
and it's very much you can like map the skeleton and stuff like that, and you adapt the vibe to the group type of thing.
Hmm.
So anytime that it's like an apocalypse or horror movie or something like that, I think the ones that do best are when not when they highlight the things that are the horror, the survival, the apocalypse parts of them is when
Hmm.
they highlight the other things that are then flavored and influenced by the thing,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So in the we need to get supplies. Oh, we need to fight zombies. We need to whatever zombies. I understand that trap, but what it to kind of like make it so it's more exciting or enjoyable, and this is where you tailor to the group because then like, oh, everybody has a sense of humor, we're going to do a lot more of a funny take on things
Sure.
where it's just like, oh, hey, look, Jeff's trying to date this girl on like post-apocalyptic Tinder, so we're trying to get him dope pictures, so the mission is
Yeah.
to try to get dope pictures for Jeff, but you have to get past zombies.
Hmm.
Like, if that's the case, but then if you do want to do a more serious take, then it's like we need to find food for a relative that can't
Hmm.
or something like that. Where it's like you take like I would always get food for grandma and I
Sure.
still have to do that.
Yeah.
But now it's this. So you take a real thing so that way they can it's hard because it's one of those things where if you go like a realistic thing, it should be relatable, but
Hmm.
some people, you know, it's when you're running for a game, a group of people, and not everybody's. Some people are better than others at connecting dots or like diving and whatever. It's a blanket. You can get everybody on the same page because everybody relates to this,
Hmm.
and then it's like, imagine if this was influenced by this. So
Yeah.
you add a step, but it's like a ramp on step. I think and that's just my and if that's like common sense or something, I don't know. That's just like, but my gut check is like find the in between before you get to extreme
Hmm.
to do the on ramp so that way it even if the end thing is like yeah they had to fight zombies, I know that's what it is, it didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
That way they'll never be like, oh, we did another thing, we had to fight zombies. It's this setting, there's too much, we're always going to fight zombies,
Hmm.
but this is whatever the real thing is.
Well, and I think there's a very clear differentiation. I think you kind of touched on it. There's a differentiation in my mind of a apocalyptic game and a post-apocalyptic game. Like is the apocalypse actively happening, or is this society rebuilt after the apocalypse? Cuz like Fallout, right? I would consider Fallout a post-apocalyptic game. It is a like the apocalypse happened, and now like the games take place moving around in the wasteland and like going to these settlements and stuff that have rebuilt since then. Something like The Walking Dead is actively in the apocalypse. Like the the majority of what is going on is people trying to survive the effects of that apocalypse. They are trying to find a safe place. They are trying to build like a sanctuary sort of stuff. Um and I think a lot of people, when they start just like when they're wanting to run an apocalypse type game, start in the apocalypse, um as opposed to starting like after the apocalypse. Um and so there's a lot that you can do on both ends of that. Um but when the apocalypse is actively happening, the primary like the primary objective becomes survival. Like it is just a like you have to deal with all of the survival stuff of like there is no power, there is no like water, there is no new food. Like you have to find ways um to make those resources accessible to yourselves. um I think there's a disconnect for a lot of people where they are, um when they are running a game set in the apocalypse, it's very easy to get bogged down in the survival element of it, to the point
Mm-hmm.
where there's not a whole lot else. um but then if you go the opposite direction and you're like, okay, well, we're gonna focus on like the like other stuff, it it's difficult to not discredit the survival side of it, um and swing too far the other way. um uh Grimwood in the chat says they're interested to know where we would place Mutant Year Zero. I've never played that. Have you played Mutant Year Zero?
No, I legitimately read, because I didn't know that was a separate, like, its own real thing. I read
Mhm.
that as like years, like when it's like the first year of like this, like, in like in my head I would have interpreted like, oh, patient zero of a zombie apocalypse, like that's year
Mhm.
zero of this, like, oh, that first year of
Yeah,
zombies
yeah.
existing. So in my head I was like year zero. It's that, like, you say, like, the apocalypse is happening and then it's
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic, the way you said that, like,
Mhm.
it's the end of a world and the beginning of another. So it's kind of like year zero of, in my brain, of anything would be like, it's that either or situation where it's like it is one or the other. But because that is a good line, I
Mhm.
really do think that you need to, like, pick a camp then, because there is a difference in
When you say pick a camp,
how.
do you mean like
Oh,
physically,
pick
like you have a
no, no,
camp?
no, 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 I'm sorry. Pick a line of, it the apocalypse is happening or
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic, only because there is, you can, I always say that in any game, all the players can not only, like, they can have more fun and just be able to play better if
Mhm.
they understand the world.
Mhm.
And understanding the difference between post and, like actual current apocalypse, in that current apocalypse there's still hope to find resources.
Mhm.
Post apocalyptic, there's a better expectation, because you would know where is what's
Right.
taken, what's left, things like
Right.
that. You know what I mean? There's less.
When
Well,
there's
there's
less uncertainty, like
correct.
you know that
There's
there
the fear of
are
the unknown of,
settlements out
like,
there, so if you get to
yeah,
them, like you're
yeah,
fine.
like, the expectations and stuff like that, and you can have a better roadmap of what's happening. But
Mhm.
if you just go like, hey, like it's happening, stuff like that, and you're trying to make a settlement, or you're trying to, like,
Yeah.
find, like, what, there's more of a, there's like a pacing issue of, like,
Mhm.
during the apocalypse everything needs to be faster, because the first to like secure XYZ things ensure survival.
Sure.
Post-apocalyptic, you have to play the long game because you don't want to get burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
You use everything, you do everything too fast. Being too quick might cost you your life. Those that move fast died because they weren't careful, type of
Right.
situation. But if you're like play it safe and easy enduring, you might dodge a bunch of stuff, but you might also miss out on things and you might not be able to secure certain things
Right.
if you weren't a person that prepped, type of whatever. But in a
Yeah.
game, you're dropping unless you're like, all right, you're all preppers, you all have everything. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about that stuff. Then, you're setting that vibe. But it's all about giving them everything that they can have. So just telling them where they are, what they've been, and then letting them go. And depending on the group, it's like, yeah, they want to get into it. The people I play with, I feel like if I spend more than 5 minutes explaining something, they're gonna get frustrated, tune out type of thing. So it's like I know I would need to just kind of give a general vibe check and then run. So I couldn't go too hard on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for that, I think quick and dirty is gonna be like during apocalypse situations because then that it's easier to do a scramble.
Mm.
But when it's a post-apocalyptic, it's like, what do I know? Are there this? It seems like there's more to chew on because then potentially because the dust has settled a little
Sure.
bit.
Yeah.
So there would be things that there would be knowns, and that requires time to know and not necessarily punish them for not knowing, but there's that time that it's just gonna move at a slower pace.
Mm-hmm.
So one shot versus multi-shot or campaign, that can kind of frame what you're going towards here. Are you going to
Yeah.
transition into post? Are you in post? Then you need more pre-work type of thing. Um,
Yeah, I definitely think that a like mid apocalypse is like a very fun one shot, right? Like the if you have a one shot where you're like the world has ended, you are actively like trying to
mhm,
find a way to survive, like you're going to fight off waves of zombies or something like that. Like that's a fun one shot, maybe like a mini campaign or something like that.
mhm,
Um but like I've also seen like long running campaigns where it is set like during an apocalypse and like you are just fighting for survival every step of the way. And I'm like, I know I personally would get burnt out very quickly on that.
mhm.
I'm sure there are like players that love that, but it's not my play style. Um I in my game world, I've talked about this in the past that
Mhm.
one of the major like bad things that happened was a lich who had been like imprisoned was freed and like started raising his army and started like marching across the continent, taking out cities and growing the army, and like it became a very very bad situation very quickly. um that that whole situation was a very interesting mechanic to play with, in the sense that I could kind of play with this like zombie apocalypse thing, but it was also not everywhere. Like it wasn't a zombie like virus that like was spreading and people were dying everywhere and all of this sort of thing. It was like an army that was like marching, and so it was almost like um more like a military apocalypse than a like zombie apocalypse,
Mm, mhm.
in the sense that it was like marching on different cities and slowly like spreading. um but I wish I would have gotten to play a little bit more with the like apocalypse vibes there. I think it would have been fun to have that like fantasy type setting where it was more gritty and difficult and stuff like that. um but I also know that like the vast majority of my players are very role play and story driven, and so a fight for survival every step of the way sort of game is not going
Mhm.
to be hugely compelling for them. Um, the in a sort of like mid apocalypse game, what are the to you what are the sort of like main pillars of that? Because like in a traditional D&D game you've got like adventuring and like puzzles and role play, like all of that sort of stuff. What do you think are kind of the main tenets of a uh apocalypse game, a game set in the apocalypse?
I think that it is survival can mean a lot of different things
Mhm.
to people because that could just be like, all right, we need to survive, and then it's like we need to get somewhere safe. We need to
Sure.
survive. We need sustenance and food. We can keep moving. We don't need to, So I think like still keeping
Survive the
those
night versus like find a way to survive indefinitely.
correct and how we survive the night could be
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? It's like it could be a big term there. I think that keeping those elements of like exploration,
Mhm.
like a social element, and then combat, but like just the way they're balanced is different. Like they're like the weight they stand for, because
Mhm.
there's still going to be the exploration of like navigating the world, and
Mhm.
as long as they know the landscape, or if they don't, and the whole point is to figure out what's happening, or
Sure.
to like if it's currently happening, it's like, all right, we know the world as it
Oh,
was,
I
and
I love
we're
somebody waking up during an apocalypse and like
yeah.
not
So it's
having
like
knowledge of what's happening. Yeah.
yeah, so then it's like, XYZ, and then like, they know all this stuff, and then it's finding out how things have changed
Mhm.
and how the repercussions of those things. So I think you can still go that route, and then the uh the social element, it's one of those things where it's like, if the pillars are supposed every game will be different. So it's like, your game has like a higher this, higher that. It's gonna be the social element will be lower in that like there are it's the party mainly, and there
Mhm.
may be more out there, but the interactions might be fewer and far between, but they're gonna mean more because the people you do encounter, instead of just it being like casual, like you just see them,
Mhm.
or they're just a there will always be they're in the same boat as me.
Mhm.
So it's almost like there's two camps of we can either be cool with each other, or we're gonna fight because we need to they want to survive as much as you.
Mhm.
And does letting you go or sharing any knowledge or resources with you take away from them?
Right. If
If
I tell
you
you where I
enc
get my water from and you go and take all of that
correct.
water, I have no water.
So, going to a tavern, like post and pre, like during apocalyptic, you go to a bar, it's, beforehand, you went Thursday, there might be people there. You're not gonna think about talking to anybody, or if you do, it's whatever, it's casual. You're not gonna it doesn't mean anything asking somebody for the time, or like, oh, you dropped a pen, nothing like that. You go there, there might be nobody there. Is it held up? Like, is it like, boarded up? Are people camping in there? Are you gonna take from them? Like all this stuff, like every interaction from you having gone that Wednesday night, like to an Applebee's with friends, and then trying to go that Thursday and it's the apocalypse, everything is going to be flavored differently even if you encounter the same people. So it's going to be the weight of everything has shifted. uh the combat is one of those ones where they're going to be fighting whatever the threat is,
Mhm. Well, and
but
not
it,
all apocalypses are
it
a zombie
like
apocalypse.
correct,
Yeah.
but you go back to that social element of like everybody in the same boat. So if this is going to ensure that your child or your same mother, if they can have a can of beans, like there's a young adult series that I read that like was really crazy. It was a meteor hit the moon and
Mhm.
moved it closer, and then the moon just looked really big in the sky.
Yeah.
And at first everybody's like, whoa, that's wild. And then it's from this young lady's perspective of their mom getting gas, and it's like however much a gallon, and like the lines roll crazy, and the just kind of the whole like before a snowstorm everybody's kind of freaking out
Yeah,
type
yeah,
of
yeah.
situation, but them being home for weeks, the power keeps cutting in and out.
Mhm.
um like they're rationing cans of beans and things like that, and the little girl finds a bag of chocolate chips and is furious. Her mother has been holding out on her and starts having some, and the mom's like, that was going to be for your birthday, eat the rest of the bag because that's your calories for the day. And it went from like a treat to a punishment, and just like how little things like that just change. But it
Mm-hmm.
was all mostly these people in their home,
Yeah.
and you didn't see the outside world. So
Interesting.
it was a series. They were in like a suburban area. The next one in the series was a boy in New York. Different thing.
Yeah.
Cans were currency. Like it
Yeah.
was like cans of food were currency. There was information brokers. It was the same apocalypse,
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would
two
imagine
completely vibes.
I would imagine that, like, moon is closer, like waves and stuff are probably worse, and so like
Hmm.
if you
There was
are closer to the coast, like that's
hmm
horrible.
at one point, after however long, they were talking about how the sky got really gray and dark, and it looked like it was snowing. It was an ash,
Mm.
and then they got a little bit of electricity where radio signal came on, and it was just talking about how volcanoes were erupting in different places of the world.
Hmm.
This girl didn't have any way to verify it. You know what I mean? It was just like it
Mm-hmm.
was raining ash. So on days they could see the sky, it was nuts. Um, but they didn't venture out. They didn't venture out, and nobody messed with them because there was like their neighborhood people left, or it was just everybody was holed up in their houses. In New York, this one kid, he had to like worry about because somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you want this many cans? How old is your sister?" And like, you want to barter your sibling for some extra cans of food,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh man, this is heavy.
Well,
Um,
and that's the like the level of like really gritty apocalypse
mhm,
where it's like I don't know if I'm having fun anymore. Like
mhm.
I've sat at tables where I'm like the GM has strove so hard to make something like really gritty and intense that they've gone too far to the point where like this is now too heavy of a game where like it there's no level of like me kind of disassociating from my own troubles to like enjoy a session.
Because
um
you're just focusing on the survivally things, and there's no real world something or other like that tangent ramp on
mhm,
thing for you to care about,
right,
because it's just food or die. Oh, zombie
right,
or die. Oh, bad people or die. But if it's just like, oh, we're trying to accomplish this thing, and then those things are like the obstacle, the whatever, you know what I mean? Like
mhm.
all those things lose sight of that.
Yeah, I love a game that is um apocalypse adjacent, if that makes sense, or like
It
like
Yeah.
there is something that is causing everything to be a little chaotic and a little bit like things have been thrown out of whack, but it's not like the only thing you'll ever deal with. um
It's using the setting and making it's using the setting and letting the setting use you type of thing.
Ooh.
Because if you go, yeah, because if it's just like we're playing this game, this is a
Uh-huh.
game about you guys trying to accomplish XYZ, but oh, by the way, it's the apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah,
That becomes a little different than, it's just like, all right, guys, you're fighting that. What do you want to do? Or here's what you find out you have to do.
right,
It's like, all right, well, this is a game. We're in an apocalypse game, and then here's the little objective. It's different when you go in the objective and have to flavor that because there's an
yeah.
apocalypse.
I think that's such a good point, and that's such a like a thing that people don't really think about when they are looking at a like a game during the apocalypse is like it's very easy to go, this game is during the apocalypse, so that is the story. Like the story is this apocalypse, so like the party is trying to survive the apocalypse. That is the story that we are like playing in. And I think to just kind of reiterate what I hear you saying is uh, the story is not the apocalypse. The story is its own thing, and the apocalypse is world building and flavor that texture the vibe of the things that they do. So like if they are if the story is about like this warlord rising to power, like a warlord rising to power during the apocalypse is very different than just in general. A an adventurer who is trying to like get back home through the perspective of an apocalypse happening and they're trying to reach home to make sure that their family is okay is different than them trying to get there just in general. It is a flavor and a lens to apply to a game, not necessarily the like the whole process, the whole like uh the meat of the meal. We've in the past have been like when you're cooking an adventure, like these are the things you need to season it with. I think Apocalypse is a seasoning or a secondary ingredient. It shouldn't be the meat of the meal. It's not like the thing that the meal is based around. It is a thing to tie everything together and enhance the story.
I see it as the thing you're using to cook the story with. I
Ooh,
see it almost
okay.
like the
It's
pan.
not
I'm
even it's
using
not
like
even a
a
secondary
non-stick
ingredient.
skillet, cast
Yeah.
iron skillet. I'm using an apocalyptic skillet.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, coming. All right. Uh, yeah, an apocalyptic skillet.
Yeah.
One sec.
So it's not even
It,
a it it's like it's going to change the dish in the
correct,
same way that like
but
a well-seasoned cast iron skillet the meal is going to taste different than just like a
yeah,
random $3 pan from Walmart. Um
because
but
it'll definitely be like when I was run, and this is a lesson like I guess I'm only vocalizing now because I've never had to think about it.
mhm,
But if I'm running like when I was running like 3 Icewind Dale campaigns, like yeah, they're
yeah.
all Icewind Dale campaigns, but each character, all the characters are so different, and what
Mhm.
they did in each one of their campaigns changed the story of what was
Yeah.
happening. So even though I had these similar like utensils and like like all the tools were the same that I was using,
Mhm.
the end product was just so vastly different because I
Yeah.
was like, well, you killed that person, this economy is all jacked, and then so
Mhm.
you're having this and you're focusing this way, and you guys are on this side of the map. So it was kind of like, all right, yeah, we took a piece of chicken breast, but one made tacos and one made like something else.
Mhm.
So it was how they go about it is just different.
Right.
But I think that is the hardest thing because people can't see the forest through the trees and they just
Mm.
see the setting as almost like
The thing
the
that's happening.
character that
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
get lost in their own like this is a story I want to tell, and it's just like we know if you have like an end goal or something like
Mhm.
that and you know where you want to get, but people don't like playing knowing that whatever they do isn't going to change anything
Sure.
because it's not going to change what you had in mind.
Yeah.
Having a location's one thing, having the ending is a different thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the reasons that I didn't end up doing as much with the like Lich and his horde story stuff that I had set up. Was that like I set it up as kind of a this is a threat that now like everyone is having to deal with, but it is a like nobody's story was intentionally set up as you are going to go after them, you are going to go like take them out. Like the Lich was not the big bad of anybody's campaigns that I was running. It was just a like a thing that was happening in the world. And I pretty quickly had to start moving away from that being as big a deal as it was, because so many of my parties decided that that was the big bad, that was the thing that they were supposed to be going after. And I think it's very easy for, as soon as there is a face to something, it's very easy for players to go, oh, that is the thing that we must destroy. So if it is a seasoning or it is the like the skillet that the dish is cooked in, that is something that then just permeates everything, and is just a an underlying like flavor and complexity to the dish that isn't necessarily a like, ah, yes, this is a thing you're gonna have to deal with. It's just a like it's just
She's
a
like, I'm
like
here, I'm right there, and she waves.
it's just a thing that the party is going to like, it's just a part of the story. It's just an ongoing uh permeation of the energy of the story. It's going to be something that is going to be so baked into everything that it becomes a secondary thing. It becomes a background thing that like if it is a lich in his army, that is a thing that the players go, "Oh, that's a thing that we need to go like take out." If it is a like the land has been ravaged by this thing, this is just the way things are, that is less of a uh less of an immediate direction they need to head. um there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. And I mean, like we mentioned earlier, like the apocalypse can be so many different things. Like there it could be something like the moon has gotten closer and that's caused like A, B, and C. It could be the classic zombie apocalypse. It could be something with like I ran a campaign where it was I called it the rot, which was like crops were all rotting away. They weren't able to be consumed. Animals were getting sick. Like people then started getting sick from that, and it wasn't a like a zombie thing. It was just a like almost more like rabies, where it was like the animals were getting sick and then people were getting like bitten by the animals, or were like eating animals that had gotten sick and then they got sick, and then like it was this plague essentially. Like it could be something like that. It can be uh the world that I ran hooligans in. Hooligans, Hash Brown and Hooligans, the big thing there was that magic had died. Like there was no magic in the world, but it was a world that had previously been magical. And so it was like high fantasy where like cities relied heavily on magic and enchantments and stuff like that to function. And then when the magic died, it like ruined cities. And the way I flavored that magic was that it stopped, like the arcane energy was no longer available, and so the those spells and stuff pulled from like life energy to power them instead. And so what ended up happening was that like the continent got sucked dry. Essentially it became this like desert hellscape, because there were all of these cities with like tons and tons of enchantments that were just draining all the life, until there was nothing left. There's so many different ways that you can flavor apocalypse, um and have it be a fun, unique experience. um yeah.
I got hooked on something a while ago, and I was like, I'll tell him afterwards. But then I kept adding bullet points. Before we go, I definitely want to tell you about this magical zombie apocalypse that I accidentally conceptualized.
Okay.
Um, because you said something about like the zombie army and stuff, but it's not a virus that spreads or something
Right.
like that. And I just imagine what I imagined was like it all depends on how you flavor magic, and it's like, what if magic doesn't die? It's like an energy, it's a transference type of thing, and you had people that just like almost like a Mensa or a NASA, like a scientific like arcane school collective where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, we found magic that like wants to like oh, this helps repair things by like spreading itself type of thing. And then it's
Mhm.
just like, oh, I have this necrotic magic. And then the lab where the something where those two magics accidentally come together and create contagion magic. And then
Ooh.
it's just like it contaminated a person, like the one wizard that was unfortunate enough, or maybe the mage apprentice or whatever it was, and it killed everything, but it doesn't die because the magic is it needs to spread. So it keeps
Hmm.
it up and it almost functions like a magical virus at this point. It needs to spread and it goes up and it latches onto people and then spreads the magic. It spreads the enchantment type of thing, and that's
Wow.
how that zombie. Yeah, like I have this whole like in my brain. I'm like, oh man, that kind of
It's
like.
like
I
zombie
mean,
mages essentially.
because magic can make anything explain. If there's just, oh, I made a magic that like spreads, and then I made a
Mhm.
magic that kills, and then oh, it cancels it out. It just doesn't die because of this, and you can't neutralize it because it just keeps spreading over whatever new enchantment. And I was just like, oh, it's like, oh, it's
That's
bad. It's
really
bad.
interesting. So
I
so
was like,
like
this is real
a
bad, but
so would it be a like it spreads through spells?
well, that's the slippery slope because
Mhm.
I would think that like, oh, it still needs like a conduit or something to latch onto,
Mhm.
but if that conduit is a spell, like it
Mhm.
can ride a line that no somebody else can't see. So if it's like, oh, I hack it with an axe, like it could try to travel up the axe and go to you, and maybe you can neutralize it or let go, whatever the situation is. But
I
if you're doing a spell and it can kind of like, you know,
I
that's
love the
it's like
concept
it's
of a
dangerous.
I love the concept of a virus that infects the magic of a caster. So the people that are like affected by by the spells of that caster also get infected with this thing. Because like, oh man, you have a person go in for a like they're sick, they go to a temple to get healing, and like while they're there, the healer
Uh,
gets infected, and then they're like continuing to heal people,
uh,
but that healing magic
I,
also infects them. Like, oh,
I see it riding magic, right? So I see it like a ranged spell is gonna hit it. It can't attach to anything, right?
hmm
But if you go up and you hit it with an axe, it can't latch on to anything unless it's a magical axe. Imagine it trying to
interesting.
latch onto there, and then then
I
it's
would
now a
even take that
slow
a step
burn.
further and go it would have to be an attuned item because there has to be that bond between you and
Correct.
the magic of the
Correct. If
weapon.
you it's a +1 dagger, it could latch on to the dagger. It has nowhere to go. It eventually might fizzle out, or it's just, oh, this, oh yeah. I hate saying it like this, but like this is a positive dagger. You got to watch out for this thing.
Mhm.
This is a positive dagger. But I'm not attuned to it, so it doesn't bounce to me.
Right.
Um, but like, what about constructs, people with magical like essences to them,
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? Like a fae, like, or a like an elf or something like that.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm an elf. I have to actually sleep because if I just try to go into a magical trance, I make myself susceptible to my magic item, any magic item that I have that it's like contaminated seeping into me.
Hmm.
So like I have to learn to sleep type of thing.
That's
Like yeah, right?
that's wild, dude. I love that. We could do a whole episode just talking about that concept.
Yeah.
That's insane stuff. I love that.
Yeah, there's the whole I was like contagion magic and then it just started
Yeah.
going. I was like, "Oh man."
Well, and I mean, D&D has the whole concept of like the spell plague,
Mhm.
I believe, but I don't know like anything about it because I don't like I don't
Yeah, no, I
I
I
don't
don't know either.
learn actual
I
official lore.
it'd be funny if I verbatim described something that existed. So we're gonna see. We'll find out.
Yeah, the let's see here. Um dun dun dun. Uh it looks like the spell plague was more of a like a war. Um.
I
Mistra's death caused the weave to collapse, and without the weave, the shadow weave was unable to be maintained and collapse as well. Um, corrupted madness filled. What arcane force remained?
Mhm.
Resulted in a new magic source of defiling arcane energy. Uh, anything that came in contact with the spell plague risked being destroyed or warped by its energies. Creatures and individuals risked becoming plague changed, which entailed massive physical mutations and often a complete loss of sanity.
Oof.
Um, yeah, I mean, we could absolutely like take some of this stuff and take what you just described and make something very interesting. But dude, that's freaking crazy.
Weaponized ADHD, everybody. No glasses, weaponized ADHD. You get killer ideas.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that a
yeah.
lot.
But yeah, long story short, if you get anything from Apocalypse things, having a fun casual game with your friends, one shot, just focus on what you think they're gonna have fun with. And in my opinion, don't think about the apocalypse at all. Come up with whatever type of story you want to tell,
Yeah,
and then you flavor with the apocalypse. Because if you just think of
I think that's a good
here's the
idea.
apocalypse
Yeah.
story I need to tell, then you're gonna lose any. It's gonna become another apocalypse story, and
Build
you're gonna
build
lose
your
whatever. It's gonna get too
story
heavy. It's
build
gonna
your
be too
story through
apocalypse
the
forward.
lens of the apocalypse.
Hmm.
Don't set out to build a apocalypse story. I think that's a very good like direction to go because any story can take place in the apocalypse. Um for the most part. It's just a matter of figuring out how that impacts the story as a whole.
Hmm.
I like that a lot, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are over time again. So we'll go ahead and wrap up. I would love to come back to your infecting magic thing at some point though, because that is a lot of fun. I would love to build that out with you. Um, any calls to action for this week, Junie?
Yeah. I don't want to say buy like an inordinate amount of canned goods, right? But um, you know, buy some canned goods. No, you should buy fresh stuff. No, don't do that. Yeah. If you buy, all right, if you're eating something out of a can, rinse it off because it has a lot of sodium, right? So just like if you're using beans or something, just like rinse off some of that sodium. You don't need it. You can add it in later anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a can related one. What about a social thing? Oh, okay. Yeah, here we go. Uh, think about the areas of your life and make sure you at least have a friend in every area. So if you go to the supermarket a lot, right? Like just kind of like make sure you're cool with like, no, that cashier, like they know me, I'm cool. You never
Mm-hmm.
know. You never know when the apocalypse is gonna hit, and you're gonna go like, I know a guy. I know a
Yeah.
guy
Treat
that
treat every person that you come into contact with nice enough that they would be willing to help you if they saw you during the apocalypse.
and just mentally go like, I don't have any strong friends. I need a strong friend.
I need to start making a friend that's going to be able to barricade doors. Yes, I like that. One caveat to that: do not make friends with the like sole intention of using them.
Oh,
That's
correct.
not the correct takeaway here.
That's not correct. No. Yes.
The takeaway here is make friends that
And
you
categorize them and just know who's who and identify everybody's strengths and weaknesses just because it's, a thought exercise. Don't like have friends just because of what they can do for you. Like that is
everybody
a bonus.
everybody in the world has skills and they have value and they are like uh good like people that could potentially be beneficial to your life and like you should be a nice person and you should take care of people and so like treat people well because if there is an apocalypse, you want to know that
Jeff knows how to start a fire.
everybody's cool
He's
with
watched a
you.
lot of Survivor. He knows how to start a
Yeah.
fire. You're gonna need that guy.
Yeah. Rosie also had a good point to your like get a bunch of canned food. Get a bunch of canned food and donate it to a food bank.
Donate
Uh,
some food.
yeah. I went a while back. I went through like my cabinets and was just like, there's a bunch of stuff in my cabinets that like has just been sitting here, and I'm not gonna do anything with it. Like, there's no reason for it to be taking up space in my cabinets. And like took a whole box over. Like, depending on where you live, it's probably there's probably a food bank very close to you, and probably is relatively easy to get stuff over to. Yeah. That's two. We need a third one. As you're like driving around places,
Learn a
as you're
weapon
going,
skill.
yeah. Take
Practice
machete
the bow.
proficiency. Well, you were doing your job. I mastered the blade. As you're driving around places, just keep your eyes open for places that you'd be like, oh, that's if there was an apocalypse, that'd be a good place to go. Oh, if there's an apocalypse, I want to stay away from this area. Stuff
Pet
like that.
stores have a lot of fresh water and
Mhm.
food that's technically edible.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw there was a whole thread online for a while that was like you never see just like a a doctor in these like zombie things. Like the vast majority of the time, if you see like a doctor in those settings, it's like a vet. And they're like, why are like vets just universally accepted to be like the doctors that would survive? And people being like, well, I mean, a large part of their job description is like, don't get bit by the thing you're treating. Like
That's good.
they're
Well, no, because it
and
would
they
make
also
sense
are
that
like
like the
used to
doctors would be the
using
ones.
they're used to using like tools that aren't necessarily designed specifically for the thing. They're a little bit more like adapt to the situation. Like, oh, okay, we don't have a thing specifically for this, but like this thing would work in this
It,
situation.
it's about who's on the front lines. Like if you think about like during wartime and like it was it World War II, like it was like mostly women were in factories because all the men were like if all the doctors are specifically like tending to people with broken bones, so the regular injured and then the zombie injured, like they're going to be the first. It's almost like if a zombie apocalypse happens, everybody would have to like grab the doctors and throw them in a hole and hope nobody's infected to keep them safe,
mm,
because it's like they're going to all be on the front lines and it's like ration the doctors because they will be the first ones there. Like it's just like no, the vets, it's just like
yeah.
everybody's running for their lives. Nobody's worried about getting fluffy to the
Yeah.
vet to make sure they're safe. No,
So
that's cool.
I think our third call to action is actually check in on the doctors in your life. If you know anybody who's in the
Or
medical
become a
field,
vet.
yeah, go, your call to action for this week: complete veterinary school. If you know anybody who's a doctor, just check in on them and be like, hey, hope you're doing well.
We
The
should hang out more, and then you check off that box.
check off doctor in your survival. Yeah, cool. Anything fun happening this week, Junie?
This week I feel like I am today's gonna be just cleaning, because aside from like we had just we've been still like we've been fine, we haven't been sick, but it's still like we're still in that general recovery, like the house hasn't gotten back in order type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and just we went and made guac, and there's just like chips on the ground. The kid just got chips on the floor, so I feel like everything's got a vacuum, and I need to just do dishes, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a cleaning day today. But this week I feel like I want to like make something like because I see this contagion magic thing, so I'm just like I feel like I want to
Mhm.
like just write something up and really go hard on a home brewery type
Yeah.
of like doc and just go like, ooh, here's a thing. Um, we have plenty of nonsense that can just be put on a page that it's just like I want to do something this week. I feel
Yeah,
like,
man. I'm freaking down.
but
I would love to start just kind of fleshing out some weird content.
okay, yeah. So
Um
this is usually, guys, this is usually something we discuss after the show, but so our line items are like contact NASCAR for a sponsorship deal. Um, uh, I'm not gonna get it. All right, just end the show. End the damn show. I'm
have
gonna go
a
find my stupid glasses.
have a great weekend or a great week. It's Monday. Have a great
I was
week,
gonna say, it's like,
everybody.
fuck, the week's already gone.
I know. Have a great week, everybody. We will be back on Friday. Until then, remember to embrace the nonsense, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.